Well, you are most welcome to this new series that I'm starting today on the 8th of August 2022. This series is specifically aimed at La Greffe de Gatineau, but of course open to the public to view. And of course, CISSSO can also view this for their reference. I'm doing this, it'll be explained in the email that I'll read to you, and then I'll show you this form that I'm supposed to fill out as I'm running out of time, but that again is an additional barrier to my seeking justice against CISSSO. So I'll be posting this vlog and sending them the link when it is done to this email that I will read to you now. Dear Greffe de Gatineau, apologies as I came down with COVID last week and it hit me harder than I thought it would. Now that I'm feeling better, I have decided to start a new series of vlogs on my Captain of Accountability YouTube channel so as to both live my transparent life, so as to show what it is like to interact with your culture, but also for the purpose of attempting to communicate more efficiently with you. It seems that I have to repeat so many things when interacting with the world's paper pushers that I still claim that the first hour of my case will need to be used by the judge for explaining to me and anyone else expecting common sense in life why your culture creates so many additional and counterproductive barriers for plaintiffs and sometimes defendants as well to jump through as it claims a pursuit of justice. The form that you eventually decided to send me after my insistence for answers that you still were not providing me is a generic form that I dare not deviate from, as most judges, through intellectual laziness, would use this form as a means to penalize me and my case, adding to my victimization. Watch this vlog, this one, specifically posted for you today, and please respond either to me by email here, and it's my Captain of Accountability email, which can also be shown in a public setting later on, or answer as comments on my YouTube channel. It makes no difference to me, as my set of beliefs insists that I live a life a transparent life. Before I end this email, here are 5 points that you should know about. Number 1. This is not just about my feelings or yours. It is about cultural repair, meaning if I am never given a fair chance to have my day in court in ways that could potentially bring me closure, at least my vlogs of interacting with La Greffe de Gatineau and CISSSO would be in full public view for the sake of potential culture repair in the future and some tiny form of closure for me now as well. If the games that La Greffe de Gatineau plays in fact seem to leave them unaware as being detrimental to my life are made to fall on my shoulder as if I am my own oppressor later on, the judge will be very surprised when I refuse to pay fees that have already been documented should fall under your own failings as a paper-pushing automaton-type culture. I may invoice the judge directly for fees that I have incurred. It is no more okay for a judge to abuse me by saying you should have known that there are serious consequences asking for human standard justice from the courts, much like it is not okay for the Gatineau Hospital to claim that there are serious consequences and medical risks for seeking medical support or even employment from CISSSO. Legally speaking, La Greffe de Gatineau have already been documented with severe incompetence, making it that I cannot be legally faulted or responsible for any fees or costs now or later. Yet, I can hold La Greffe de Gatineau at fault for fees that I have incurred myself. This is my ace in the hole, provided to me by your offices. So I don't say what this is. I'm saving it for later. It's an ace in the hole. And it may be used against you as you decide to keep failing in your duties over time. Now, this ace in the hole, by the way, could also be your ace in the hole against me. And if so, people would need to be arrested if that's discovered. And again, I've never stated that there should not be criminal charges with my visit at the hospital on those days. There should definitely be criminal charges. It's just that I don't trust the Gatineau police. It would have to be investigated, and I thought maybe winning in court in this way or getting the media involved would bring the criminal charges later. This is not related to the ace in the hole, what I'm talking about right now, but there definitely is neglect in a criminal manner from the way I was treated at Le Gatineau Hospital. And again, what I'm saying here, folks, that I'm being treated by the Gatineau Hospital or like the Gatineau is the norm. So again, I'm not this 1 out of a million person. I'm just this 1 in a million person that's actually wanting to talk about it in a transparent way and say, that's not okay if you think you're human and you believe you're living by human standards. Let me role model what that means. And you could hate me as much as you want, and you can label me with every mental illness in the DSM-5 if you want. But I'll still live my life that I can continue to pat myself on the back when I go to bed at night, and boom, that's what an Homo sapien would act like. Number 4. If both CISSSO or La Greffe de Gatineau seek to ridicule me for my own theory on HSD, I will not hesitate 1 second to provide the evidence that both CISSSO and La Greffe de Gatineau suffer from intense levels of these human domestication syndromes, which were easy to predict you would remain trapped and mimetically infected by. Lynn Margulies was also ridiculed for a long time for her unorthodox theory. So I guess we both share a stubborn and persistent arrogance about us, because I will likely end my dialogue with you at some point by saying, thank you for your non-academic contributions to science, because the academic world doesn't know what to do with an independent scientist like myself that, much like Lynn Margulies, was saying things that are easily evidence-based but that are unorthodox or out of the norm in times when being out of the norm is not even something that the brain can actually assimilate or comprehend. Number 5. From the very beginning of my case in court, likely starting on the 2nd hour after I interrogate the judge, and I explain why many times, I will spend the time to review my communication with both CISSSO and La Greffe de Gatineau from their beginnings, as this groundwork will play a crucial role so as to show the failings of the human mind due to HSD. Now you might think, hey, this is not a PhD defense. It's my life, people. My life includes all elements of my life. You can't exclude parts of my life, especially when they are directly related to these experiences here. Because I say things related to mental illness, for example, that are very far from the norm of people that work in that field, or at least that want to talk about it openly. And I've been victimized many ways by this, and this is one way that I decide to take to court. And my transparency, by the way, will be demonstrated in many other ways. And how I am constantly violated by simply having conversations that are outside of the norm, much less having skilled listeners motivated to listen about the state of the human condition that we are personally, both of us, involved with during our interactions. People aren't even interested in discussing our interactions because it's different from the norm, the way I talk about it. HSD is evidence-based and making recordings, and if the judge wants to limit any recordings right away, it is working against my case and against my transparent life, my set of beliefs. So if the judge wants to do that, again, we might never actually start the case on that same day. So, and only need to interact with people to be able to demonstrate examples of how you harm each other with these behaviors, these HSD-based behaviors. Please respond as soon as the judge assigned to this case consults with their lawyer, their own lawyer, I should say. And the reason I end with this is I'm not sure if the judge is assigned already or not. and they don't answer that, and I understand why they would keep anonymity for a judge. But the thing is I still get a sense that there's no judge that is actually involved in the way they should be involved, even anonymously, based on the responses that they give me. Because if there's a judge that they are giving the information of my emails to, not a summary that they can't understand or summarize efficiently, but the actual context here, the entire thing, like the vlog link for the judge to see and say, this is who you'll be facing in court on that day, Your Honor. It's not just going to be Martin versus CISSSO. It's going to be Martin versus like Greffe de Gatineau because of our inefficient behaviors, lack of human standards, creating more victimization in Martin's life. So if there is a judge that's been keeping track of all my interactions, I tell you they're either planning some further victimizations towards me, or they're shaking in their boots, or they're incredibly incompetent and they just think the wrong things from what they read. And folks, again, why am I doing English? It's the same thing. When I went to CISSSO, I was communicating efficiently in French, and what I said made no difference to them. It did not matter to them. They wanted to interpret things the way they wanted. It's strange. They ask questions, and then they don't listen to answers, and they believe they've assessed properly. So, and that's easy to prove, and it'll be easy to prove with CISSSO, because I'll be starting by reading things that I've sent as interactions and say, please explain, I've told you this. And supposedly you can read in French or English, and you didn't need a translator, and this is your response. And we're stuck here today where I'm not going to be able to even give my case on the first day, because we're reviewing why you failed using language that is in the official languages of Canada, and we're still not moving forward. And again, this is some of the evidence that they suffer from HSD. So it'll take a while to get to the stuff that is actually me versus CISSSO. So this list of witnesses, okay? So I wrote something on here. I'll tell you what it is. Because it says, if the judge finds that a witness was summoned and his or her attendance was unnecessary, the party having requested the witness to be summoned could be required to pay the legal costs related to the witness appearance. And I assume this would be, the court pays a generic fee for witnesses for a certain time, and that would be, and I hope they don't try to make a profit on top of that. So I wrote, if the summons do not follow the schedule of my case, and this falls on the court's shoulder of responsibility, then the court should pay these fees. Now I'm turning this form around, right? And I'm seeing, I've already informed them that if I try, I'm poor. They know this, I'm poor. They shouldn't have charged me a fee. I'm poor. But if I try to go find the names, and by the way, some names are incredibly hard to read from part of the notes that they sent me when I requested it through my file. But how do I write a person's address when, of course, they won't want to provide that? There's 3 lists of witnesses here, and I'm supposed to, as the plaintiff, I'm supposed to know the name of staff, where they live, and how to contact them. When it was very plain in previous emails, where this is what they sent me in response to previous emails, is I said the judge should order CISSSO to make available people for me to interrogate, and it should most certainly include. So that means you don't have to necessarily have the people that escorted me from here to here show up, although they said, I agree with you, good luck. They're not that competent here, I had staff say this to me. That'd be nice if I could have recorded it, but when they take away your possessions, and when the psychiatrists refuse recordings, and that's against what I believe in, because they could have a copy and I could have a copy, but I live a transparent life, and to stay sane with people that suffer from HSD who don't want to live a transparent life because they're in authority and they're okay abusing me because they somehow feel justified with very little guilt, then that's not okay, right? But 4 people that I definitely would want, okay? So judge, if you're listening to this, which you should, right? If you do your due diligence and you care, and you're not somebody I have to totally re-educate and reinform on this entire sequence of events with both CISSSO and the court from the beginning, And again, based on how much you decide to pay attention and how much it's outside of the norm, that I'm re-educating you instead of presenting a case as if you know what I'll be talking about when you won't, and it'll show right from just me asking you a few questions, Judge. If I have to do that, again, we might be looking at multiple days before I get to interview the first person. The first person is the young man, and I say this because I think he's younger than me, who was the main interactive person from the emergency room from that morning. Psychiatrist number one, psychiatrist number two, and the nurse that I asked to be a witness for me with psychiatrist number two. Now, there was also other people that would be very important in my case because, now, of course, they'll be dishonest, but when I question them, the judge will be able to notice that. So I'm okay with it because they'll notice it. So there was a room before I went to the upstairs, and in that room, many things happened where they could see that I was good with other clients. There was a retired staff that came back. We had interactions that were good communication, like they knew what I was talking about, and yet they weren't trying to save me, right? They didn't think I should be there, but they weren't trying to save me. And then there was the fit that the lady had where I was. And again, send this link to CISSSO if you want the court, the judge, and say, explain this. Martin will be asking all this, and why did you answer us about this plaintiff with one line instead of saying, we've investigated this and our staff have failed, and yes, Martin will be demonstrating this. The judge should be very mad with CISSSO and their agents' lack of accountability. Because there's a lady that I helped when two staff called security and they locked themselves up, and I'm not locked up. I'm right there around this other mentally ill person, and yet I had created a great rapport with them through my training, and yet they think it's okay to go lock themselves up and be safe and wait for security to come running. And when security observed that I was the one that calmed her down, that helped her, well, they did good work actually. The security people compared to the mental health staff, they were better. But I also am the one that created rapport and eventually held her hand and got her to agree to being locked in a room for a short time to calm down. She agreed with that. Now, did the security guards write this in their notes? Because I did tell the security guards that they should call the police because I shouldn't be here. I've been locked against my will, and I'd like to explain to the police right away. Later on, there were police that came, but at that point, I had a good sense of what was going to continue to happen, and I didn't have a sense that I could trust those police officers, so I let it go at that point. The police officers were there for something else, and they were not in a good mood, and it was not a good time anyways. And at that stage, I had assessed the culture there enough to know that I could get myself out with my common sense and my sense of reasoning. And of course, being a goddamn independent scientist, it was amazing data I was collecting about their incompetence related to HSD within the realms of mental health. So I did ask the hospital for the notes from these security guards, never provided. It would be nice if they were there, but I mean, they might not remember, they might not have written notes. And if they didn't, if somebody says, could you call the police? Or if another client helps a client while the staff goes and locks themselves up, that's got to be in their notes. And if it's not in their notes on that day, again, it's the type of incompetence that my questioning will reveal. It is dangerous to expect mental health supports from CISSSO in large. And it's not just isolated incidents. People do the research. Should be a big public inquiry, should be investigative things by third parties about how to fix things there. It is horribly dangerous for people to get worse in mental health in l'Outaouais and to not at the same time address the issues with CISSSO. So again, I'm going to ask the judge, how am I supposed to, on this one form here, or do multiple, have names that I don't have, addresses that I don't have, when the judge could, instead of this form, just say, Martin would like at least that person the first day, and then the other ones are crucial to the case. There is also a staff that was higher, I think it was a dark-skinned person, that was higher than the regular mental health staff before I got to the other room. but that was under the psychiatrist, so I don't know who they are. And when I read the notes are so ridiculous. When I read their notes, it really is clear that, they do not know what they're talking about. So, of course, any notes I have from, if I can identify their names from their signature, it's very hard, is I will want to question the people about their notes. And again, I don't believe I received all the notes of that day. So, Judge, I need this to give my case. Your form doesn't make it possible for me. Your system doesn't make it possible for me. Because if I try to get that information, I will be no trespass at the Gatineau Hospital. That's what happens. When I seek justice anywhere in the world, and I have the evidence for it, I get very close every time to get in trouble with the police when I'm the good guy. So I'm not going to let the court make me fall for this trap. I've been keeping myself always passing criminal record checks while putting pressure indirectly because nobody wants to directly engage in cultural repair projects. So, Your Honor, explain to me, and I can call you Your Honor at first, but I'll start calling you dude if you don't show, the professionalism that somebody that's called Your Honor should have. Okay, so thank you very much. And we will talk again. There'll be many in this series before the court date.